Major mountain ranges of the world. Let's understand about the major mountain ranges in the world and how are they formed and how to label them on the outline map of the world. As all of us know that colors play a significant role in map making and map marking. Colors signify each and every location and they represent not only the natural features but the man-made features also on the map. Shading with brown color all the mountain ranges on the map indicating the higher elevations on the earth. Let's discuss about the Alps first. The Alps are the most significant natural site in Europe, covering most of the parts of the Europe. They are forming an arc that is very long from the Gulf of Genoa to the Danube River at Vienna. Let's know more about the Alps. Alps, this chain of mountains swings in a broad arc from near the Mediterranean Sea in France northward to form the border between France and Italy. The Alps are a complex fold mountain system which has been formed due to the collision between the African and Eurasian plates. Sedimentary deposits of vast thickness, mainly limestone and dolomite, were laid down in the ancestral Tethys Sea during the Triassic and Jurassic periods. So here if you find that how the Alps are located and shown on the physical map of Europe. Now in the same way, we are supposed to mark Alps on an outline map of the world. So if you find over here, this is Africa, this is Europe. Between Africa and Europe, if you see, this is Mediterranean Sea. Now this is Italy, and exactly in the north of Italy, the Alps are located. So let's mark the Alps exactly above the north of or above the Italy. So here the Andes. Andes Mountains are the longest mountain chain in the world, covering the entire west coast of South America from Cape Horn to Panama. Andes are also called Cordillera in Spanish. It means Andes mountain range. The northern Andes, if you find, have three ranges of mountains and most are lower than the mountains which are located in the south. Now, the third branch of the northern range that actually runs towards the northeast into Venezuela. Now, the highest peak in South America or in the Andes, that is the Mount Aconcagua. Andes are formed due to the subduction of the Nazca Plate beneath the South American plate. The name Andes is believed to have come from the word anti, and Quechan is the another word which is used for Andes. It means copper. Much of this metal is found in the mountains. The Andes also contain different minerals such as gold, silver, tin, lead, iron, platinum, and quicksilver. So now if you find that how the Andes are located on the uh, outline map of South America. Now in the same way we have to mark Andes using the same brown color in South America. So here you can see that. So it starts exactly from the north, that is Venezuela, and then it comes over here. This is Colombian plateau and towards the end. In this way, the Andes are located or to be marked. Let's discuss about the Himalayas. The Himalaya range is the highest mountain system in the world. The name Himalaya comes from the Sanskrit language that means the house of snow or the snowy range. It consists of several parallel ranges. Himalayas separates northern India from the plateau of Tibet. Parts of the range which are as much as that is 200 miles wide. Himalayas rise in steps from the plains of northern India. Mount Everest, that is the highest peak in the Himalayan ranges. India and Eurasia, driven by plate movement, collided. Because both these continental landmasses have about the same rock density, one plate could not be subducted under the other, and in this way the Himalayas are formed. Now let's understand how the Himalayan ranges to be marked on an outline map of India. So this is Indian subcontinent and the northeast portion is totally covered by the Himalayas. So in this way the Himalayas to be marked on an outline map. Now it's little difficult to mark the Himalayas on the world map, but the regular practice will surely help for this map marking. The beautiful Rockies are a well-named group of jagged snow-capped peaks which run through the western part of North America. They begin in northern New Mexico and extend as far as northern Alaska. Let's know more about the Rockies. At the international border, the part of the range known as the Canadian Rockies. Most of the peaks in this range were formed in a great upheaval of the Earth's crust. The sides of the mountains have been found to contain the fossil skeletons of animals that once lived in the sea and rocks that were formed in the hot interior of the Earth. The southern part of these mountain ranges have found with some volcanism. Since the time they were formed, the peaks have been cut into their sharp spires and angled faces by the forces of glaciers, and the glaciers hollowed out the valleys between two peaks. How are the Rockies formed? The Rocky Mountains took shape during a period of intense plate tectonic activity that formed much of the rugged landscape of the western United States. Now let's understand how to mark Rocky Mountains in North America. So this is Alaskan region. Here the Mount McKinley, that is the highest mountain, and from here Rockies start. So, and yes, the line should be little darker and thicker. Secondly, suppose any river line comes in between. So you are not supposed to trace the pencil over the river. You just skip out and then continue with the map, with the marking of the mountain. So in this way, the Rockies to be marked in an outline map of North America or world map. The Appalachians. The Appalachians, which are the old fold mountains, and they are the chief mountain system of eastern North America. They are also the oldest mountains in the United States. These mountains form the eastern continental divide between the rivers that flow into the Atlantic Ocean and those that drain into the Gulf of Mexico. The Appalachians include many ranges, along with the Great Smoky Mountains are very well known. There are more than 40 peaks over 6,000 feet in this mountain range. Then rivers draining into the Atlantic Ocean have cut many valleys with steep sides, especially in the central part of the range. Geographers call these valleys water gaps or wind gaps, depending upon whether or not a river runs through them. How the Appalachians were formed. The Appalachians first formed roughly 480 million years ago during the Ordovician period and once reached elevations similar to those of the Alps and the Rocky Mountains before they were eroded. The Pyrenees. The Pyrenees is a chain of mountains that forms a natural barrier between France and Spain. They extend from the Bay of Biscay to the Mediterranean Sea, a distance which is about 270 miles. Many peaks in the central ranges of the Pyrenees, they rise to over 10,000 feet above sea level. Glacier fields are found on the northern slopes of the mountains. Minerals found in these mountains include iron, lead, silver, and cobalt. Pyrenees is the best example of the Hercynian period. Some 500 million years ago, the region now occupied by the Pyrenees was covered with the folded mountains created during the Paleozoic area called the Hercynian, of which the massive central in France and the Meseta in Spain are but two remnants. Now, let's mark the Pyrenees Mountains on the world map. So now Pyrenees actually separate France from Spain. So exactly in the middle of the France and Spain, the Pyrenees Mountains are located. The Atlas Mountains. The Atlas Mountains are a range extending 1,500 miles across northwestern Africa. They run from Cape Gayer on the Atlantic Ocean to Cape Bon on the Mediterranean Sea. The range crosses part of Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia. These mountains were named after Atlas, the Greek titan. The Atlas, they are the basement rocks of most of Africa, was formed in the Precambrian and is much older than the Atlas Mountains lying in Africa. The Atlas formed during three subsequent phases of Earth's history. The first tectonic deformation phase involves only the anti-Atlas, which was formed in the Paleozoic era as the result of continental collisions. So now let's mark Atlas Mountains on the world map. So this is Africa and Atlas are located exactly at the northwest of Africa. So here these are the Atlas Mountains. So in this way you are supposed to mark Atlas on the world map. The Urals. The Ural Mountains extend for 1,500 miles in a north-south direction from the Arctic Ocean to near the Aral Sea. Old map makers used this range to mark the continental boundary between Europe and Asia. The Ural Mountains, here you can see on the map how they divide or separate Asia from Europe. The Ural Mountains are probably the richest mountain range of their size in the world. These mountains are remarkable in the variety and amount of mineral wealth which they contain. Today, mining activities are done on a larger scale in this region as it produces coal, iron, copper, gold, platinum, silver, nickel, aluminium, manganese, and many more minerals. So now let's mark the Ural Mountains on the world map. So here the Ural Mountains, they separate Europe and Asia. And this is the Caspian Sea. So this is the mountain marking for Europe and Asia. Let's understand about the Great Dividing Range. That is the most peculiar feature of Australia. The Great Dividing Range of Australia is so called because it forms a watershed. Rivers on the east side flow from the highlands toward the Pacific Ocean. On the west side, they flow toward the central lowlands. In southern New South Wales and eastern Victoria are the Australian Alps, the continent's tallest mountains. Mount Kosciuszko, Australia's highest peak, which rises to a height of 7,316 feet. So here it is the Great Dividing Range. Australia is very well known for the minerals such as petroleum resources, coal resources, uranium and thorium resources. Then geothermal energy, that is the renewable energy resources, basin geology. The highest mountains on the Australian mainland are in the snowy part of the Great Dividing Range, separating the central lowlands from the eastern highlands. Now let's mark the Great Dividing Range on the world map. This eastern highland that is located in the east, so it is also known as the Eastern Highland. So as it stretches or extends from the north to the south, so it is known as the Great Dividing Range. Let's know the mountain that are Zagros. The Zagros mountain range stretches south and west from the borders of Turkey and Russia to the Persian Gulf and is Iran's largest mountain range. Zagros Mountains have long stretches and it includes many higher peaks also. The range consists of folded mountains made up of mostly limestone and dolomite. Now let's mark the Zagros Mountains on the world map. So if you see over here exactly, the Zagros are located in the Iran. So along with this major mountain ranges, even you can mark the other mountain ranges such as Drakensberg, Apennines in Europe, Caucasus, and Karakoram Range, Scandinavian Range in the North Europe. So in this way, you can practice the map marking and score good marks in exam. So these are the learning outcomes for this video session. The mountains which are formed due to the tectonic movement. Some mountains are formed due to volcanism. The mountains, they always show the geological time and formation. The mountains are like a book of history which tells us the history of Earth. Mountains are very, very important for us. Map marking on an outline world maps. That also we have learned today. Thank you.